Yep. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Oh, I didn't take out the so review session, guys. Today, inshallah, we're gonna take another half hour to maybe 45 minutes and talk about whatever questions you have. Jawad, you're here to help me, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So let's begin. Whatever questions you guys have. I'll wait for you. Okay, Akram Khan. Thanks for the yelling. Working on it. Gotcha. Actually, Jawad is remote and nobody else is here to help me because we're in a COVID situation. So I have to do this myself. But I'll try to get better at it, inshallah. I see it, the Sneem question. It's moving too fast, so you can tell me what it is. Jawad?
I'm not seeing any tasneem. I'm trying to make sense of this question for a second.
Okay, I will show.
Okay, I see it. Okay.
Can you explain about fake masculine and does it a different type like fake feminine or just it contains non-human stuff? Okay, let me just talk about the idea of fake gender a little bit. We will revisit this in our review in our second round of intensive, but it's okay to talk about that. So let's start from scratch. In Arabic, every ism, so every person, place, thing, idea, adjective, adverb, or more, every one of those has a gender. That's not the same as English. So in English, boy is masculine and girl is feminine, right? So that's a person. But then if you have a place like, let's just say Germany, shout out to Germany, would be usually an it. Sometimes in literature, you can use she. But also the Germans, ironically, call it also the fatherland, so they can use a he also. So places can have he and she, but usually places have an it. In English literature, also you say something like America and her allies, you know, or the idea of a motherland, with the exception of Germany, was the Fatherland. But that's, you know, so that concept is there to give a place gender. Then there's, you know, person, place, thing. So thing like book. Is typically an it. So it's neither male nor female, neither masculine nor feminine in English. And then you have person, place, thing, idea. So an idea could be, let's say, mercy. Or let's just say love, right? Love. And love is an it, right? Love is not a he or a she, right? So if somebody says a baby needs love, a baby needs it, right? So the word it is a substitute for love. That's why it doesn't have a gender in English. So person, place, thing, idea. An idea, adjective. So if I say a kind boy or a kind girl, the word kind would be the adjective, and notice it didn't change. So it doesn't matter if I use it for masculine or feminine. The word kind actually has no gender. A kind word, a kind, you know, a kind country. You could attribute kind to anything. So it doesn't actually carry a gender on its own. So adjectives don't have a gender. Adverbs like quickly doesn't have a gender. So what I'm saying is in English, the things that are part of the ism definition, and of course we didn't discuss more, we'll discuss more when we get to more, because you know an ism is a person, place, thing, idea, adjective, adverb, and more. In Arabic, all of these have a gender. So a boy is walad, that's masculine. A girl is bint, and it's feminine not because of the ending, but because it's real feminine, because the feminine ending is actually this. So bint, right? Germany, any land, any country is actually considered feminine, pretty much always, the name of a country. Book, but you know, other places are masculine. So let's replace the word Germany with, let's just say, what can we use? Yeah, let's just use field. So Maidan. And Maidan is masculine. So it doesn't have a feminine gender, but there can be other, you know, baldatun is feminine. Another word for, you know, countryside. That's feminine. So it could go either way, but there is a gender. It's not an it. It's a he or a she crazy enough, right? Book in Arabic, kitab, is a he, but not a he. It's the masculine it. It's what that is. It's the it masculine version. And love, mawaddatun, one of the words for love, mawaddatun, is the feminine version of it. What I'm saying is you can have masculine or feminine for things that are not actually with the gender in English or in common sense. So even kind, right? So kind, let's just say it's latif. So latifun and latifatun, you can change the gender of it. You can change the gender of it. And the quickly is a hal, and this can also actually be, sari'an or sari'atan. So it can actually be feminine or masculine. So what I'm saying is there are, we said there's fake feminine, right? But what's the counterpart? Fake masculine. So there's 4 actually. There's fake feminine and real feminine and fake masculine and finally real masculine. Those are your 4 possibilities really. But we only study fake feminine because everything else is obvious. Now, why is everything obvious? Real feminine is obvious because it's common sense. That's mother or Zainab, right? That's common sense. Same way, real masculine is obvious. Nu'man is masculine. That should be obvious to you, right? Or son is masculine or father is masculine. That's common sense. So all we're left with is fake feminine and fake masculine. Well, whatever is not fake feminine for the reasons we studied is automatically fake masculine. So technically something like kitabun would be a fake masculine because there's no sign of fake feminine, right? So that's where those genders come from. I'm using the word fake just so you understand it's not really female. It's feminine. So the word female is used in biology class. The word feminine will be used in Arabic class or language class or grammar class. Same way the word masculine can be used in language class, but male will be used in biology class. So we're not using male and female. We're using feminine and masculine. Okay. So I hope that helps that a little bit. Other questions?
Are the words that are plural because the Arabs said so plural grammatically in Arabic, but when translated into English, do we use them as plural or singular?
Wonderful question. Let's look at all 3 of those. Qawm, Nas, and Qarn. Right? Those are the 3 I gave you. There's some others in the Quran too, but these are the popular ones. Hizb, I think, is one of them. So in the Quran, let me give you the grammatical example so you could see what I mean. And I'll address all the components of your question. So you have qawman akharina. It's a phrase in the Quran. Or wanajini min al-qawmi min al-qawmi al-zalimina is another easy example. Okay, so we're using qawm in this case. Actually, not qawman akharin, it's qarnan akharin. وَأَنْشَأْنَا مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ قَرْنًا آخَرِينَ. Okay, so let's look at qarnan akharin. According to what I taught you, the word qarn, we're dealing with the word qarn now, is nasab because of the ending an, right? And it's also plural and plural and masculine. Why plural? Because the Arab said so, right? That's what I taught you. And there's no reason to consider it feminine, so I'm going to still go with masculine, right? So that's nasab, plural, masculine. And there's no sign of proper, there's no al on it, so I'm going to go with common. Okay, so once again, it's nasab because it has the ending an. It's plural because the Arab said so, and I taught you that. It's masculine because there's no round ta, there's no alif maqsura, the ya with the dagger on top. There's no alif mamduda. It's not one of the words on page 12. It's not a body part in pairs. It's none of that stuff that makes it feminine. Therefore, it's masculine. And there's no al on it. That's why it's common. Now look at akharin. Akharin could be nasab or jar because ina could be muslimina could be nasab, could be jar on page 6, right? But I wanted to match, so I'm just going to give it benefit of the doubt and say nasab. And of course, una, ina comes from the plural column, so it is plural. And it comes from the masculine chart, so it is masculine. Because the whole muslimun, musliman, muslimin, muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini, muslimuna, muslimina, muslimin, all that's masculine. And then it doesn't have an al on it, so it's not proper, so I'm going to go with common. Do you see the 2 properties matching? Right? Because these 2 properties match, this is the mawsuf, this is the noun, this is the adjective. So a lot of times students think that nouns and adjectives are words that rhyme together or they have the same endings, like, ghafurun, Allahi, ar-Rahmani, ar-Rahimi, or kitabun marqumun. and things like that. No, sometimes it looks like one of them has an ending sound and the other has an ending combination. But fortunately, you have Ustad Nauman to tell you that there's grammar involved here, right? So this is, in fact, a case of why I said plural because the Arab said so, because they had to give an adjective respecting the fact that they consider it plural. But now let's dig a little bit deeper from the class that we covered. So the first issue I'd like to bring up is these are called in English, these are called collective nouns. So these are words for a team or a group or, a collective of people, right? So a team is a good example, right? So the team won in English, the team won. There are two correct ways of saying that. The team won could be they won, the team won, or it won. Both of those are correct, okay? The nation succeeded. In English, you can say it succeeded. You can also say they succeeded. They, the nation, succeeded. When you're talking, the nation is a singular word, but because it implies is a collection of a lot of people, right? They take the license in English to use the singular or the plural for it. They actually have the license to use either one. The similar concept, but not for all collective nouns, but just a handful of them, happens in Arabic, that they take some words. Now, qarn, generation, is one generation. It's actually not multiple generations. But because it is incorporating many people, the plural is used. So there's some logic behind that. It's not just the Arab said so at a barbecue, like I said, but that barbecue had some sense. They weren't drunk. Okay, so now let's talk about how we translate that. You would be tempted as a student to see the ina and say this translation has to be plural. By the way, akharin means others. But here I will say another generation. Singular. I would actually use singular. Because the word is being grammatically treated plural because the Arab said so, but it still just means a generation. So I'm still going to translate it in English, respecting English, right? Another generation. And it's possible that another generation came, it was successful, is good English. Another generation came, it was successful. And you can also say another generation came, they were successful. They were successful. That works. So it's the they were successful that is being used here in Arabic, right? It's just like English is taking the license to use the plural. Let's look at another quick example. Min al-qawmi al-zalimin. These are from the words of Musa alayhi salam when he was escaping Egypt, when they wanted him for murder, and they were going to kill him on sight. So there was kind of a shoot to kill order for him. And part of his words were, وَنَجِّنِي, rescue me, مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. From, min is a harf of jar, which means from. It makes the next word jar. That's why you see e at the end of qawmi. And let's do the four properties of qawmi. It's jar. We just did that. It's masculine or plural because the Arab said so, right? Because I have no reason to consider it singular. Also, actually, the Arabs literally said qarn, qawm, nas, or plural. So I'm going to go with plural because the Arab said so. It's masculine because I see no sign of feminine. And I'm going to go with proper because it has al on it, right? So I'm going to go with proper. Now, al-zalimin. Al-zalimin would be, ina could be nasab or jar, but, there's a nice juicy looking mawsuf here. A noun here that wants to match with jar. So I'm going to give it benefit of the doubt and go with jar. Even though technically you can't say nasab or jar, right now benefit of the doubt works. So I'm going to go with jar. Ina is from the masculine plural chart. So three masculine makes straight sense. Una, ina are three masculine, plural masculine. And then al-zalimina is proper. Notice how they match, right? So the four properties matched up. Now that they matched up, Jawad, do you have a question? Anybody have a question?
Sorry, no. That was an accident.
Okay. When I hear a little bit, then I know something's up. So I've been conditioned. But anyway, let's see. All right. So because I said al-qawm is plural because the Arab said so, let's talk about the meaning of qawm for a minute. Qawm actually in Arabic means nation or people. In English you say a people. A people. And so, and when we talk about a people, we use the word they. So even though there's an A on it, we use they. A people commit injustices. They must face the consequences, right? So the word they was being used for a people. The same way here, we're going to keep the singular in translation, and I'm going to say from the wrongdoing nation, from the oppressive nation, from the oppressive people. That's a good translation. I didn't say nations. And by the way, now the last juicy part, qarn means generation, right? And qawm means people. And qarn, it's going to blow your mind, qurun and qawm, aqwam. The words I put next to them are actually the plurals of these words. Qurun is the broken plural of qarn. It actually means generations. Generations. And aqwam is the broken plural of qawm, which means nations. Now, generations and nations are plurals that include human beings. So these would be considered human broken plural, human broken plural. So what I'm saying is this one is a different rule of grammar. The first words. The first word, the rule of grammar is plural because the Arab said so. The broken plural of that word, you go back to the original rule. They could be treated like a she, or they could be treated like what they really are. Okay, so that's the little bit of a crazy conclusion. Other questions, Jawad?
What is the connection between Lillahi and Rabbi in Surah Fatiha? I can't find any fragments, so does that mean I put an is between them?
Good question. What's the student's name that asked that question?
I'll let you know in a second.
Okay, thanks. You can interrupt me when you find it. So the thing, student, since I don't know your name yet, is that you're right. You couldn't find a connection because you looked at the word Rabbi. But the training I want you to have, the mindset I want you to have, is that when you find an ism that is light and doesn't have al, then you stop trying to connect it with what came before. You look at it and say, that's got to be a mudaf. Let me see if it's got a mudaf ilayh. Right? So light, no alif lam, should be an alarm. So even though you were trying to connect it with lillahi, you have to pause that process for a moment and consider the fact that Rabbi is a mudaf. And al-alamina after it does meet the conditions of a mudaf ilayh. Therefore, this whole thing is a mudaf and a mudaf ilayh, the Rabbil Alamina part. And once you discover that it's a mudaf and mudaf ilayh, then you have to discover its four properties. Now, the four properties of Rabbil Alamina would be, it's jar because it's got the E sound. It's masculine because it's got no sign of feminine. It's singular because the word Rabb we know is master. So we know the meaning, and also there's no sign of plural. And the last question, whether it's common or proper, is a mystery. The way you answer that is whenever you have a mudaf, the final property of proper and common comes from the mudaf ilayh. And the mudaf ilayh has al on it. Therefore, the mudaf is proper. Therefore, that's proper. Now, here's the thing that you forget, all of you, that I want to make sure you remember. When you have a mudaf and mudaf ilayh, then you have to look at them together conceptually, not grammatically. Grammatically, there are two words. But linguistically, common sense wise, they're actually one concept. They're one concept. So for example, if I said, I'm the son of, right? Or I'm the brother of Medea. Okay? I'm the brother of Medea. What is my description? My description is not brother, I'm brother. The concept I was getting across to you isn't just that I'm describing myself as a brother. I'm being much more specific than that. I'm saying I'm Medea's brother, right? So the mudaf and the mudaf ilayh, common sense wise, have to be looked at as one idea, one unit. And that affects grammar too, because I'm looking at Rabbi and al-alamina as one unit, because I'm looking at them as one concept, then once you discover these four properties of the mudaf, These four properties actually speak for the entire thing. They represent the whole. If you put parentheses around it, these would be the four properties. The properties of the mudaf represent the entire mudaf ilayh. They represent the entire idafa. Now coming back to your question. Lillahi, you couldn't connect it. Lillahi is made up of li, which is a harf of jar, and then there's the word Allahi. I'm sure you connected those two, jar and majroor. Then the word Allahi is jar, masculine, singular, and proper. Right? And because it's jar, masculine, singular, and proper, it does match with the entire Rabbil Alamina phrase, which means Rabbil Alamina is an adjective, is a sifa of the word Allah. Okay, because yeah, the word alone you couldn't connect, but the entire idafa, absolutely you can connect. Okay, so I hope that becomes a little bit clearer. And that means you didn't watch that video. Yes, that question. Go ahead.
Page 31, questions 14 and 15.
(31, 14, and 15). Okay, let's do that. So let me walk you through this process, and Jawad, if there are interruptions in that, meaning people are confused about something I'm saying while I'm explaining it, just stop me, okay?
Yep.
All right, so first we're going to look at this part. Inna is from page 28. This is a harf of nasab. Inna annaka annabi anna layta lakina la'alla. It's supposed to make the next word nasab. So this guy is nasab. The problem is this guy looks the same in rafa or nasab or jar. The rafa version of hada is hada. The nasab version is hada. The jar version is also hada. Okay. By the way, you can cross these off. You don't need them. It's fine the way it is. Okay. So it is nasab. I don't know if it's rafa, nasab, or jar, but because inna is right here, that's why I know for sure this is nasab. Okay. So now we've got inna and ismu inna. Hada would be the ismu inna. Okay. This is one of the fragments. And they are, in that sense, connected to each other. So inna connected to its ism. Because they're connected to each other, you cannot have is in between these two words. Is will not happen. Not over here. Now, you've got hada, which is a pointer. And there's no al on aduwun. So we're moving on to this part. Let me erase this now. Now we're looking at this. Hada and aduwan. Yeah? Well, we said that when you have a pointer and you don't have al after it, then you can put an is here. Is there al after it? No. So you could put an is here. Inna means certainly. Hada means this. Certainly this is. This is. Now it says aduwan. Aduwan means an enemy. An enemy. Certainly this is an enemy. Okay. Urdu speakers say isme badi adawat hai. Adawat. Adawa. The Arabic word is adawa, which is animosity. But adu is the enemy. Okay. So aduwan becomes the part after the is. Now we move on. This much is clear, everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Now, aduwun laka, we're doing this part. And when we're doing this part, aduwun is, let's just do four properties. It's rafa, it's masculine because there's no sign of feminine, it's singular, and it's common because it doesn't have al. Right? So those are the four properties. Laka has two words. It's la and ka. The la came from page 27. That's your harf of jar. Ba, ta, kaf, lam. It's supposed to make the next word jar. So la is supposed to beat up on this guy and make it jar. And it in fact did, because ka comes from this guy comes from page 18 in your notes. Huwa huma hum, hiya huma hunna, anta. If you look at the word anta on page 18, the attached version of it is ka, which could be nasab and it could be jar. So anta means you. And the attached version, ka, could also mean you, but the nasab version of it and the jar version of it. And so the la made the ka jar. So this is in fact jar majroor. The reason the ka had to be used, because if it's the jar version, you have to use the attached version. Okay, what I'm saying is that these two are in fact connected to each other. So I saw so far that this guy and this guy were connected. These two were not connected. This guy and this guy are connected, and this guy over here is not connected. Right? So there's two areas where there's a disconnect. Please remember this. Once you find one is, I don't care how many other disconnections you find, it doesn't matter. This is irrelevant. You do nothing here. Certainly, this is an enemy to you or for you. There was no other is necessary. Once you find one break in the chain, you can have 10 other breaks in the chain. They won't affect the meaning. They're done. Okay? Questions about that?
No questions.
Great. Okay, it was 14 and 15, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. تلك من أنباء الغيب. تلك من أنباء الغيب. Tilka is on page 30 in your notes. This is the pointer. It's the feminine pointer. The feminine pointer can be used for two things. It can be used for one feminine, right? It can be used for something feminine. It could also be used for a broken plural, because broken plurals can be treated like a she, so this can be used for a broken plural. Knowing the context of the ayah, tilka actually is referring to a broken plural, so I'll translate it here as those. Okay, so instead of saying that, I'm going to translate it as those. Some students might say, well, why don't you translate it as these? No, haram, because dhalika and tilka are when you point at something far away. Hadha and hadihi is when you point at something nearby. So hadha and hadihi would be this or these, but dhalika tilka would be that and those. Okay, so tilka, the broken plural, referring to those. Immediately after the pointer, I don't see an al. And I can't have an al anyway because this is a harf of jar. So I'm going to put an is here, but is doesn't go with those unless you are from a certain neighborhood in New York. So those are. Those are. I'm writing backwards, but yeah, those are. Min is a harf of jar, page 27. Makes the next word jar, and boom, it became jar. Look at the nicely jarified amba'i. Amba'i is light, no al. And al-ghaybi is jar, which means this is a mudaf. This is jar right here. This is a mudaf, and this is a mudaf ilayh. Which means min is connected to amba'i, and amba'i is connected to al-ghaybi. That got ugly. So what I'm saying is, let's go back. Min connects to this, based on page 27. Amba'i connects to al-ghaybi. Amba'i means news. Al-ghaybi means the unseen. Those are from the news of the unseen. Questions about that one?
No questions.
Great. Where are the children? They'll be back on Friday. Let them have a break. Okay.
Someone's asking what font you use in Word.
I like this font. Let me copy the name of it. I searched it online. I searched for a long time and I found this font. That's the name of it. You can download that on Word. That gives you a very close to Quran's Uthmani script text. If you are enabling Arabic, then this would be a good font to use.
So this one's a bit longer. Surah Baqarah, ayah 19. The question is, I was wondering, where is the break in the chain and how would you translate this? Would there be a break in the chain between kasayyibin and min as they don't have a link, or would it be two sentences and the break in the chain is in between o and
Holy
ka
Allah. Oh yeah, Allah.
At the beginning and the other being between fihi and khulumat.
Okay. This is ayah number 18 and 19 together. This is more advanced than, or this is 17 and 18 and 19 together. But Okay, how do I? So, where do I begin with this? This is more complex than what you are ready for right now, but I'm going to give you some clue. Mathaluhum in ayah number 17, their example, this is a mudaf mudaf ilayh. Kamathali, there's a break here. So the person asking this question has some background in Arabic, so I'll work through this quickly and then come back to the rest of us, okay? Their example is something like the example of someone who lit a fire. So there's an is over here. But the conceptual start was their example is, okay? And then their example is this, and the example goes on, and on. And then you get or. And the or here says their example is like the example of ayah number 17 and 18, or their example is mathaluhum kasayyibin, or their example is like so on and so forth. So actually the part before the is implied from ayah number 17 contextually. And the kasayyibin is the part after the is. So this is something that you'll learn. I mean, I'm not discussing any of the technicalities of it, but this is when a mubtada is carried over from a previous statement, meaning the part before the is carried over from the previous statement. And this is, guys, this is how deep we're going to get, is really looking at the text carefully and seeing how things connect to each other. And how words that are, I was just reviewing my Surah Al-Fath yesterday, and Surah Al-Fath, I think it's 4 ayat or so, that are all grammatically one concept. Like they're all connected grammatically, and you can tell they are. Here, the O tells you that it's connected to what came before. So you can't look at it in isolation. You have to connect it to what came before. Right? So, أو مثلهم كصيب. Even though Quran doesn't say مثلهم, it's implied very clearly. كصيب من السماء. And then the فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق is again a more complex sentence. So you have to look at it. Let's leave this alone, and then I'll share something that all of you can understand. Let's look at فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق. فيه is 2 words, fi and he. Okay? And the word fi is a harf of jar, and huwa was the original pronoun on page 18, which is supposed to be the rafa form, and the nasab and jar version is hu or he. That's the nasab or jar version. It has to be attached. Well, fihu was going to be socially awkward, fihu, so the nicer, smoother attachment is fihi. So he is not jar because it has a kasra on it. He is jar because it's an attached version. Okay? So this would be a jar majroor. They're connected to each other. But then dhulumatun is rafa', and wara'dun is rafa', and wabarqun is rafa', and they're connected to each other because the word wa, which I didn't teach you, wa in Arabic also means and. That's not a harf of jar. The harf of jar makes the next word jar. This definitely isn't a harf of jar, because how could the next word be rafa'? When a wow doesn't do that, when a wow doesn't jarify, then it just means and. Okay, and is a logical connection between things. If I say you and I travel together, I connected you and myself, right? If I say I'm using the keyboard and the mouse, I connected the keyboard and the mouse with the word and. So and is a natural connection between things. So what I'm saying is dhulumatun wa ra'dun wa barqun are connected to each other because they have an and in between. Wa darknesses and thunder and lightning. Darkness, shades of darkness and thunder and lightning. They're all connected. But the fi and the he were connected to each other, but I couldn't establish a connection beyond that. So I'm going to translate this as fihi, in it is, or in it are shades of darkness and thunder and lightning. In it are shades of darkness and thunder and lightning. And there are more complications in this ayah's translation, but we're not going to deal with that yet. One of the series you guys will really enjoy, inshallah, when you're done with this grammar study is Sheikh Suhaib and I work on translation of the Quran together, on and off. Recently, more off in the last few weeks, but very much on, inshallah, in the long term. We hope to translate at least a brief translation of the entire Quran along with our commentary work. And we will discuss the translation of an ayah for a solid hour. Just what word should we choose in English? What about this grammatical concept? What about this? What about that? And should we really use inna certainly here? Should we say really? Or should we translate it at all? And we debate this stuff, and we record those debates, and arrive at a conclusion. Because what we're hoping is when we finally, Allah knows how long it'll take, but when we finally translate or publish a translation of the Quran together, we'll have this discussion archive behind each ayah that we can say to the world, well, when somebody says, how come you guys translated it like this? Well, here's the reason we came to this conclusion. Here's our discussion process. So there's kind of like the translation, and then there's also the transparency of where this came from. Instead of just putting a preface in the book and saying, oh, we put a lot of work into this, and therefore enjoy. Like, I do believe that there should be transparency, and maybe somebody will look at our process and say, actually, you guys didn't consider this, this, and this, and they'll make improvements to that, right? So this is like in any other endeavor, a human endeavor, people put their best effort in, and then somebody comes along and makes a breakthrough, and something new, something better is produced. That's the concept of, furthering knowledge in any field. And it's the same. Allah's word is perfect. Our translations are never going to be. They're just going to be human efforts, right? So there's always going to be room for improvement. But the more we do that project, in Suhaib's own words, the more he sees the need to do such a project. Like, we look at sometimes he looks at, I don't look at other translations. He does. He's like, nobody said this. I was like, yeah, they didn't. Like, how could they miss it? I was like, So that happens sometimes with our work. But inshallah, you'll get there, and I hope you guys get to enjoy those kinds of discussions. Because, my vision for what I want to do long term isn't just teach the same courses over and over again. I want to leave archives. Like, this is an archive, right? So a school can use this in the future. Some of you want to become teachers. They can see a recording of how I taught and then use that as a method in the future, right? Build on this material in the future. And then the other thing I want to do is actually not just lectures on the Quran, but talk shows about the Quran, discussion forums about the Quran, where Western academics, traditional scholars, hadith scholars, historians, psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists are sitting together, and we're discussing concepts that all these lines of human inquiry, they intersect with each other, and we're trying to explore Allah's word better. So, like, I want to create a culture, at least for myself. I want to be the primary beneficiary. I want to create a culture of contemplating on the Quran and exploring its richness. At the center, the Quran, and every other discipline coming and helping us extrapolate more from Allah's word, right? That's the kind of thing that I envision I'd like to do. And actually, that's one of the reasons this auditorium and stuff is being built. And the auditorium is actually already done. But the facility itself, one of the things I want to do once COVID is over is to actually help invite people, come here and, create these forums. And people come literally sit in and flies on the wall, watch us geek out. But for now, I'm at least starting that process a little bit. You saw some taste of that, some of you that are following along with, me, Suhaib, and Saqib discussing the biblical subtext of Surah Yusuf and things like that. For some people, that's like, astaghfirullah, brother, why are you reading the Bible? This is haram. We already know it's not the word of Allah. Yes, we do. But just hold that thought. My brain will start melting and turning into boogers as it comes out, as I try to process your comment. But for now, there's some people that really appreciate what that is. What that is there are people that are exploring this religion that are from Christian and Jewish backgrounds. They know their book. And when they see a comparison like that, they have aha moments that we can't even imagine. They're like, that's what your book says? Our stuff's being watched by academic circles, university professors. They're watching this stuff. They're letting me know they're watching this stuff. So, and they're letting, Suhaib and others know. So yes, it is for the benefit of Muslims, but also we have to spread this, and we have to expose the world to what the Quran really is. Anyway, I digress. Go ahead. Questions?
What plugin do you use to insert ayat?
It's a spiritual thing. It's called Quran in MS Word. Whether it's the 32-bit or 64-bit, I don't. You got to figure that out. But you Google that, and it's a brother named Tawfiq. I don't know how to spell his name correctly. But you'll see the name. He's from Indonesia. He developed this many years ago, and I found it, and it is amazing. Because you guys said, I have a question about Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, bam, Baqarah 19. Here you go. Was that your question? And the text pops into the Word document. So I don't have to go online to look for an ayah. Just pops right into the Word document.
Okay. Can a word be part of multiple fragments at the same time?
Of course, a word can be part of multiple fragments at the same time. A word could be an adjective and a mudaf at the same time. A word could be beat up by a harf of jar and be, a noun to an adjective later on. Yeah, sure. A is connected to B, and then B is connected to C. So B has a tie to A and to C. Sure, that can happen all the time.
Specifically, it was asking, can you give an example of a mudaf that's also mawsuf?
That's what you wanted. Okay. Let's go to the Surah Al-Rahman. You know what's really cool about this class is when I want to give you an example, I don't just say, Kareem ordered a shawarma. I pull out an ayah from the Quran. So you learn something about the Quran as you go. You're not just learning Arabic, you're learning Quran technically, right? So this is Surah Al-Rahman. Let's see. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. Okay. Okay, so these are two ayat of Surah Al-Rahman. They have similar wordings. وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام, and at the end تبارك اسم ربك ذي الجلال والإكرام. Right? Everybody should notice. I'm going to get rid of the yabqa over here, and I'm going to get rid of the tabaraka. Right? And we'll look at these. This seems like a long text, but inshallah you'll see that it's not so difficult. Wajhu is light and no alif lam. That would make it a mudaf. Ismu is also light and no alif lam. That would make it a mudaf. What confirms that is the word Rabbi is jar, and the word Rabbi here is jar. So wajhu Rabbi is a mudaf ilay, and ismu Rabbi is also a mudaf and mudaf ilay. The word ka is an attached pronoun. The attached pronoun can only be nasab or jar, but the rule is every time it's attached to an ism, it is jar because it is the mudaf ilay. What I'm saying then is wajhu is mudaf, Rabbi is mudaf ilay, Rabbi is mudaf, and ka is mudaf ilay. The same way, ismu is mudaf, Rabbi is mudaf ilay, Rabbi is mudaf, and ka is mudaf ilay. Now, what's the point of identifying something as mudaf ilay? You put an of in between them. Wajh means face. The face of the master of yours, which simply said would be the face of your master. The face of your master. Okay. Ism means name. Ismu Rabbika, the name of the master of yours. Simply put, the name of your master. So the first one is the face of your master. Let me put a line between your master's face. And this one, your master's name. So far, so good? Questions about that?
No questions so far.
Okay. Now, dhu in Arabic is a crazy word. I didn't discuss crazy words with you, but I'll tell you something about them now because we're doing this ayah. Dhu is always a mudaf. If you see dhu in the Quran, it's a mudaf. Dhul Qarnayn, mudaf ilay. Okay? So dhu ilmin alim, dhu mudaf ilay. Dhu is the rafa version. It doesn't have an ending sound. It actually has an ending letter. It's crazy. So this is the nasab version, dha, and this is the jar version, the. Dhu, dha, the. Okay? The rafa version of dhu is dhu, the nasab is dha, and the jar is the. So usually we have words change because of their ending sound. This crazy guy changes by an ending letter. Okay. So there are actually a few words like that in Arabic, like Abu, Aba, Abi, but we'll learn them inshallah when the time comes. For now, just dhu, dha, and zi. So dhu is rafa, dha is nasab, and dhi is jar, and they're always a mudaf. Yeah? And it means possessor of, or the one of. The one of. Like the one of great knowledge, dhu ilm. Okay? Dhu mal, the one of great wealth, or the possessor of great wealth. So the word itself means possessor of, or the one of. Okay? Now, al-jalali. So dhu is 1,000,000% always, as soon as you see it, mudaf. Be clear about that, right? Which means al-jalali is 1,000,000% mudaf ilayh. So dhul jalali, jalal means glory. Dhul jalali means possessor of glory. Okay, so I'm going to put that in English here. Don't write this yet. Possessor of glory. Right? Possessor of glory. And then wa means what? And. And when things are connected with and, they're naturally connected. I said that today to you guys, right? So possessor of glory and honor. This is deeper than that, but we'll leave it at that. Possessor of glory and honor. And notice al-ikrami is jar, because when you connect two things logically, then their status connects too. Because glory and honor are connected, that's why their status got connected. So that's why anything after and is the same status as the anything before and. If they are truly connected to each other, then they share the same status. So dhul jalali, al-jalali wal-ikrami are both jar for that reason. Okay. Now, the question is, dhu, possessor of glory and honor. Look at the English. Your master's face, possessor of glory and honor. The question can arise, is possessor of glory and honor the master? Meaning the master who possesses glory and honor? Or is it the face that possesses glory and honor? Right? And actually, the Arabic can tell you. Wajhu is rafa, right? Wajhu is rafa. Dhu is also what? Rafa. Rabbi is jar, but dhu is rafa. So Rabbi and dhu cannot match. But do wajhu and dhu match? Let's see. Let's see if their four properties match. So I'm going to see if I can figure out wajhu and dhu. Wajhu and dhu are both rafa. I think everybody would agree. They're both singular. We already said dhu is always singular, right? And wajhu is there's no sign of feminine. So it's no sign of pair or plural. And then it's masculine because both have no sign of feminine. And they're both proper. Why? Because wajhu is proper because the mudaf ilayh is rabbi and its mudaf ilayh is ka. Ka is a pronoun. Pronouns are always proper. So rabbi becomes proper. Therefore, wajhu becomes proper. Because you go to find out whether a mudaf is proper, you got to go to the final mudaf ilayh. And the final mudaf ilayh is ka, so wajhu is proper. Dhu is proper because its mudaf ilayh has al on it, al-jalal. Got it? So what I'm saying is wajhu and dhu have the same exact four properties. You know what that means? That means that they are noun adjective. The face of your master is being described as possessing glory and honor. Your master's face possessing, or your master's face of glory and honor. And I say of because now it becomes, of is not always possession, it's also a describer. Okay? So your master's face of glory and honor. Now you can see that the possessor of glory and honor is an adjective of face. If you contrast this with this guy, this phrase, Ismu Rabbika the. I cannot connect it to Ismu the way I connected it to Wajhu. You know why? Because Ismu is Rafa, but the is Jar. But Rabbi is Jar. You see that? Rabbi is Jar. Because Rabbi is Jar, I'm going to see the four properties match with the. And if you go through that process of matching, you'll see that Dhil Jalali and Rabbika match. Four properties. You know what that means then? Your master's name. So let me try this. Hold on. If I said your master's name, possessor of glory and honor, that would be confusing because in English, I can't tell if the word possessor is talking about the name or the master. But the Arabic is telling me it's definitely talking about the master. Right? So your master. Your master. The possessor. The one of glory and honor. Name. Or the possessor of glory and honor's name. It would be a work in progress. This is why I have to discuss things with Sheikh Suhaib for a long time before we arrive at a translation. But the point is, the translation should be saying that Dhil Jalali wal Ikram is describing Rabb, not Ismu. But here, Wajhu Rabbika Dhul Jalali wal Ikram is describing Wajh, not Rabbi. So yeah, the Mudaf is a Mawsuf now. The Mudaf is being described. Okay? Tough example, but the kinds of things we're going to do over and over until you guys totally get it. But you guys, in these QA sessions, you can ask questions that are a little bit more advanced, and I can geek out just a little bit with you. That doesn't mean the class will move at this pace, right? Class will slow back down. Don't worry. The multiple speeds. Questions?
We talked earlier about the 4 prophets who are Arab, and they're the only ones that are fully flexible. So then what about Lut and Nuh?
So the exception, yeah, so the exception to that is, and Jawad, when you ask a question, just start taking note of the students' names, because I like to pick on them.
Got it.
Okay. So Nuh, Lut, Adon, and then Adnun. Names and places are supposed to be partly flexible, but when names and places are 3 letters, even if they're foreign, if they're made up of 3 letters, then they become fully flexible. There's a really epic exception to that, which is Egypt. But we'll have a whole just discussion about Egypt, inshallah, one day. But for now, yeah, Yusuf is 4 letters, right? So Yusufu, Yusufa, Yusufa, right? But Nuh is 3 letters, even though he's not Arab. So Nuhun, Nuhan, Nuhin. And with Adam, by the way, notice when I wrote Nuhin, you see how you can't see the kasra? That's why I don't like these fonts. Sometimes they bug out. And then when I switch to the other font, the one you guys asked me about, I'm not going to see that problem. See that? Much clearer. So Nuhun, Nuhan, and Nuhin. And then some people wonder about Adam, like Adamu, Adama, Adama. You just said it's 3 letters, so how come this one didn't work? Well, it didn't work because it's 4 letters. A is 2 alifs. Then dal, then mim. That's 4 letters. So that's why it's back to partly flexible. Adamu, Adama, Adama. Okay. Other questions? I'll just take 7 more minutes. I said 30 minutes. It's turning into an hour. That's okay. I like it.
We're getting some requests if one of these Q&A sessions can be with the tech team to answer tech questions.
They'll be scared to death, but let me ask them. They're inundated right now. I know some of you guys are very upset and confused and I get it. I get it. I'm working them. Don't worry. They're scared of me more than they are of you, but they're great people. But I'll put them before the firing squad if you want. Inshallah. We'll do it. Why not? Let's have it. Inshallah.
All right. Maryam is asking, why is Ibrahim not in Arabic name?
Well, simple history, Maryam. Ibrahim alayhi salam is from Babylonia, from the land of Babylon, which is ancient Iraq. It's just, and they, he simply is not from the Arab lands. And if he was, let's just imagine Ibrahim alayhi salam was an Arab, then when you have a certain ethnicity, then your children are the same ethnicity as you. So all of his children would be Arabs, but he's the father of the Israelites too, isn't he? So how would he be Arab? If he's Arab, then all his kids are Arab. That means Bani Israel are Arabs, but they're not. Right? So he's the father of multiple ethnicities, actually. His children went on to become nations, and those nations became ethnicities. Even though the Arabs already existed and some of his children assimilated into Arabs, Ismail is actually like he assimilated into Arabic. His name's actually Hebrew. Ismail is actually a Hebrew name, Yishmael.
Faiz is asking if we can go through Surah Shams, ayah 13.
Okay, we can do that. What was the name again?
Faiza.
Faiz, okay. Ash-Shams, ayah number 13. Is there a specific question about this ayah, Faiza?
I didn't see a question with it.
Okay. Qala is like, well, we can't do that yet. So we're going to skip Qala part. That's later. Lahum, you can tell, is Jar al-Majroor, to them. It actually says he said to them. Actually, we can do that. Why not? So fa means so. Qala is like nasara, like huwa nasara, he helped, past tense. So qala means he said. He said. Lahum is a jar majroor from page 27. And hum is an attached pronoun meaning they. Lam here would mean to. He said to them. He said to them. And so the rest of this will be a quote. Oh, no, actually, he said to them. And then it's describing who said to them. It's the messenger of Allah who said to them. But we don't know how to connect this yet. But at least for now, you can tell this is a mudaf and a mudaf ilayh. Right? So Rasulullah said to them, meaning the messenger of Allah said to those people. We'll see how that translation works when we study the fi'l in more detail, inshallah, in the next coming week. But now let's go to the last part. Naqat Allahi. Naqa means camel. Mudaf, like no alif lam. The word Allah is jar. So Naqat Allahi, mudaf mudaf ilay. The Allah is camel. And wa suqya. Suqya means its drink or its place of drink. Its watershed. And the ha, so this is an ism. It's an ism and it's non-flexible. Suqya. 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 Okay. You can't do anything. Rafa and nasab or jar, it's the same. Okay. And the ha at the end of it, like that, the ha at the end makes it a mudaf mudaf ilayh. So the drinking place of her, the ha coming from here. Why her? Because the camel is feminine. So the she camel of Allah and the drinking place of her. One thing that's really amazing about this ayah is this nasab. You see naqat Allahi with a fatha on it. I told you that there are two reasons for something to be nasab. It could be a detail, right? And it could also be after a harf of nasab. There are 14 other reasons for nasab, 14 more complex reasons. And details, there's more details for details. One of those reasons is you make something nasab because you want to add this. So you can tell from the haraka that the messenger Salih, when he spoke to the people about Allah's camel, he didn't say فَقَالَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ وَسُقْيَاهَا. He said نَاقَةَ Allah. And the nasab tells you there's ighra here. It's actually, so this is they say على المدح والذنب والإغراء. So to incite people to, are you serious? That's Allah's camel. Don't touch that. And that came from just the nasab. And if this was naqatullah, it wouldn't be the case. It wouldn't be nearly as exciting. It wouldn't be as escalated. Naqatallahi wa suqyaha. That's captured inside the grammar of it. It's incredible. You find in Surah Lahab, وَامْرَأَتُهُ رَفَعْ وَامْرَأَتُهُ, yeah? To, رَفَعْ حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ. You see that nasab? This is the same woman being described. Allah went nasab all of a sudden. This is nasab ala dhamm. Hammalat al-hatab, the one who keeps on carrying firewood. Carrying firewood. It's this hammer drop because it's nasab. The ancient Arab heard that and went, ooh, why that went nasab? And we're like, وَامْرَأَتُهُ حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ. We're so chill about it. These are bomb drops right here. So inshallah, when you get there, the rafa nasab jar is going to change how you read Quran. The emotions will start popping out of the text. There's just the text comes alive because of these things. The grammar isn't just a geeky exercise, it's a way for us to experience the life of the text, the life of the word of Allah. Anyway, good question.
A few people are asking about how you add the dagger alif on your keyboard.
You like that, right? You like that, right? Okay, I'll show you. I actually took that part out of here. In most fonts, so the font I showed you is this one. That's the font I use. You can go to insert symbols, and the shortcut for the symbol of the dagger alif is Alt plus 0670, and you can assign a shortcut to it. And I assigned the shortcut Control Q for myself, but yeah, I had to assign a shortcut. It doesn't exist as a standard. So, but that's the code. So in usually in typical Microsoft Word, you have more tabs here, and there's an insert symbol tab. I removed it because I don't want clutter for you guys. So under insert symbol, you'll see Alt. If you put in Alt 0670, it'll highlight the dagger, and then you can give it a shortcut of your own choice. So that's how I get the dagger alif. It's this is not the font though. I don't like this font. Let's see. Last question.
Afroja is asking, why do we say Amilu Salihat and not Amilu Salihunna?
What? Amilu. So we say Amilu as-salihati. You guys recite the surah all the time because you're in a hurry, so I'll explain this grammar. And what do we not say instead?
As-salihunna. So why is the ending at, what for plural feminine? Why is it atin instead of hunna when they're both plural feminine?
Okay, so you have I'm going to explain this, and you're not seeing why what hunna is. Hunna means those women. And I don't know why those women became so small. So let me just first tell you why what you're thinking needs to stop. Let me tell you why. Let's look at the word salihunna as you wanted to say it. It would first of all have to be salihuhunna because you can't get rid of the this is too big. That's not even word because the double noon doesn't exist unless you're saying hunna, right? So those are two separate words. Then hunna comes from page 18. If you did say it like that, then salih would be the mudaf and hunna would be the mudaf ilayh, because when you have an ism and a pronoun attached, they become mudaf and mudaf ilayh. Hunna is not a way to make a word plural. Hunna is a way to add a mudaf ilayh. The way to make a word plural is una, ina, atun, atin, or a broken plural. So hunna is not a plural ending. Now you may be confusing this with the fi'l and how you make a fi'l plural, like hunna nasarna. Then you're fusing ism and fi'l together, and the wires are starting to get crossed, which means you got to start over and separate things. If I did say salihuhunna, it would mean the righteous guy of those women, meaning the righteous one of those women, meaning I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean anything. But let's talk about Amilu Salihati so you understand how it works. And then you won't have to come up with your own Arabic. This is what you say in Surah Al-Asr, right? Okay. You remember a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, you did Huwa Nasara. Remember that? Huwa Nasara, Huma, Nasara, and Hum. I'll go to Hum, Nasaru. Right? So, Huwa Amila, Huma Amila, and Hum Amilu. Hum Amilu. Right? So Amilu here is Hum Amilu, which means they did. They did. Okay. Now, As-Salihati, let's figure out its 4 properties. The 4 properties of Salihati. First, remember from way in the beginning, we said look for ending sounds or ending combinations before you look for ending sounds. And it does have an ending combination, Ati. Ati, which is the same as Muslimatun, Muslimatin, Muslimatin on page 6. The reason it's not Atin is because Al doesn't like tanween. We did that too. That's why it's Ati. Okay, so now it's Nasab or Jar. Remember, because Atin is twice. So it's Nasab or Jar. One of my font sizes are way off. I don't know what happened. Okay. So I'll say Nasab or Jar. Then I'm going to say plural feminine, right? Because Atun, Atin is the plural feminine. And I'm also going to say that it's proper because it's got an al on it. That much clear? And if it is, then you'll see that there is no reason to consider it jar. Jar happens for 2 reasons. Either it happens because you have a harf of jar. I don't see one. Or it happens because you have a mudaf. You cannot have a mudaf here because amilu is not even an ism. It's a fi'l. We already did. Hum amilu. That's a fi'l. A fi'l is not a mudaf because a mudaf has to be an ism, which means there's no reason for it to be jar, which means the only possibility is that it's nasab. And actually, it's nasab for a logical reason too. I translated amilu as they did. What did they do? Good deeds. It's a detail. And details are supposed to be nasab. That's why it's nasab. As-Salihati. Atun, atin can be used to make certain things plural that are things, or it can be used for people. In this case, it's being used for things, meaning good deeds. Okay? So don't use hunna to make something plural. That's not how that works. Last question. So if we translated this verse as the face of your master, possessor of glory and honor, that would be a wrong translation. I wouldn't say wrong translation, Screenager. I would say that it leaves room for you attributing it to the wrong. You could think of it the right way with that translation, or you could think of it the way the Arabic isn't saying. So you want to try to say a translation that doesn't leave room for the wrong idea. The idea Allah didn't communicate, right? So you want to protect it from ambiguity. If you want to say a translation that could be looked at 2 ways, then you should make sure that the Arabic could also be looked at 2 ways. That happens. But in this case, Dhul Jalali, it's very clear where Allah wants our mind to go for the possession of glory. Is it attributed to the face, or is it attributed to the name, or is it attributed to the Rabb himself, right? So you want to be clear about that. And that's the struggle of translation. So we have to get good at English in the process. Okay, final question. I could do this all day.
Dr. MGM was asking, he has friends who tell him that there are mistakes in the Quran. What should he say to them?
I'm not your friend. There are mistakes in the Quran. Seriously? Okay. Yeah, there are lots of claims of mistakes in the Quran. And part of what I will teach you eventually is the allegations of grammatical mistakes in the Quran, the allegations of historical mistakes in the Quran, the allegations of contradictions in the Quran, the allegations of scientific inconsistencies in the Quran. There are lots of claims about mistakes and errors and inconsistencies, and even people even say Arabic mistakes in the Quran. They are an Arabic mistake when they say there are Arabic mistakes in the Quran. But there's no one answer for that. And let me just tell you, when people say things like that, they're looking for an excuse to, just dismiss the word of Allah. It's not like they studied the issue deeply. It's not like they know the text for what it is. It's not like they have academic background in what they're saying. They've just Googled a couple of websites and they found some evangelical trying to bash the Quran, or some anti-Muslim atheist group that put some hobgobble together, and they read that stuff or watched a YouTube video. If you watch this video, you're not going to be Muslim anymore. Stop wasting your time with that stuff and stop entangling yourself in arguments that aren't based on actual knowledge. And you know what? Once you answer a question like there's, where's the contradiction? Look at this, and you answer it, they say, let me find another one. So don't entangle yourself with ignorance. No, the Quran said, the people at the time of the Prophet ﷺ said that he borrowed it from jinn, right? Bihi jinnah, he's possessed. Oh, he's, yumla alayhi bukratan wa asila. He's being dictated to. He didn't get this himself. He's copying from somebody else. These allegations existed even then. They're recorded in the Quran. And Allah just didn't say, okay, well, let me prove to you why that's not the case. He didn't do that. He just let the word speak for itself. And if this was copied, and if this was, jinns talking, then jinns can still copy and talk, right? Why don't these copiers and these jinns and whatever other source, if this is such a weak text, then how come nothing of the like has ever been produced? How come no text in the history of humanity had the impact on the globe in such rapid fashion that this text had? One way of measuring the power of a text, power of a literature, is its impact, right? Here you have this Quran, and within a quarter century, an entire region is transformed, not just politically, socially, economically, psychologically, anthropologically, in terms of their manners, in terms of their diet, in terms of their sleeping schedule, in terms of how they get married and how they get divorced, and what they do when they have their kids. Their rituals have changed. Everything about them has changed. And then they're traveling the world, and the world is transforming. How? With made-up words? With words that have contradiction? So all those thousands of people that became these people that dedicated lives to scholarship, some of these doctors, some of these philosophers, some of these chemists, some of these physicists, these were the mufassirun. But they failed to see contradictions in the Quran that you found on Google. The fathers of modern medicine didn't see the contradictions that you can see. The people that developed sciences like astronomy to levels that humanity had never seen, that developed architecture like it had never been seen, failed to see the logical inconsistencies in the Quran that somehow you have discovered by your exhaustive research. Is that not intellectual arrogance? And it's not even arrogance built upon actual intellect. It's arrogance built upon laziness. I don't want to follow this religion, and I want to hide behind the fact that I'm too smart to follow it. Okay, you live in that pretend, that's fine. So when your friends say that, it's just they're burnt about something. Some Maulvi beat them up when they were little and they're traumatized by it. And I don't make fun of that, because there are unfortunately cases of, children being abused or people being abused in the name of religion, and then they turn away from religion, and then they cling on to whatever justification they can to stay away from Allah's religion, right? But the root of it was abuse that happened to them. The root of it was they weren't treated right by somebody in the name of Islam. And that's why it really happened. So your friends may not actually have a logical issue. I'm 99% of the time when I've dealt with people like that, there's a psychological issue. Not that they're crazy or psychotic, but they've been hurt by something. And that propelled them in this direction. It's not that they discovered while studying the Quran that there are contradictions and therefore, no. Some people have that, that's fine. And we can discuss and debate those things. There are some people that find, a faith crisis and They after doing exhaustive study and discovery, they're stuck somewhere and they can't. One of my favorite friends, I won't name him because he gets embarrassed. He was a philosophy major. He was doing his he was so smart, subhanallah. Like, this kid finished his bachelor's degree like in 2 years and went straight to he skipped the master's program, got accepted straight into a PhD in philosophy program, right? And he and I got to know each other at the masjid, and he said, man, I can't believe I'm here. I was like, why? He said, well, because my parents aren't that religious, and when I turned towards philosophy, they were really freaking out. So I wanted to just show them how stupid Islam is, because I know philosophy. I've studied it exhaustively. I know modern writers too. I know psychology and philosophy. He's super smart. And he's like, I start studying philosophy and I start coming at the Quran. I'm like, I'm going to tear this book apart. I'm just going to show them exactly why they should be like me, not me like them. And he says, every time I came to the Quran with a philosophical issue, and I said, because he's rigorous in the way he studies, right? And so he rigorously studies the issue from the Quran. And he says, the Quran, it was like I was wrestling with this book, and this book was pinning me down. Like, it just pinned me down. And I was like, oh, I got to find some other attack. And I came at it again, and it pinned me down again. And it came again, and it pinned me down again. And I was like, fine, it's from God. Okay, I give up. I give up. You know what that is, though? That's intellectual honesty. Like, him being pinned down was not because he could justify his position and still dismiss what he's seeing. But he was honest with himself enough to see that there is an answer here. There is something here that's responding to my query. And it put him in his place. I had to go through that journey myself. I had to find why should I believe in this book? Why? My parents aren't forcing me to be Muslim. I have no reason. I'm living in New York. I'm by myself. I can do whatever I want, believe whatever I want, act however I want. Who's going to check me? Who's going to ask me? I have complete freedom. Why should I give up my freedom? Why should I look weird and, act weird in the middle of like Times Square, making full rak'ah and people are looking at me funny? And why should I do that to myself? I have to have real reason to do this. And it can't just be you're going to burn in hell. Why do I believe in hell? Why should I believe in hell? Why should I believe in this God? Why should I believe in this book? I went through those questions for myself. And the way I arrived at those answers may not be the same way you will arrive at those answers, or somebody who's struggling. It may not be the same journey, but those who genuinely embark on this journey, Allah does not leave them out. It doesn't matter if your friend thinks there's contradictions in the Quran. If they genuinely seek the answers, then I have, complete conviction that Allah will not leave them in misguidance. But if they are still stuck in a cycle where they have to argue for the sake of argument, then that cannot be helped. They have to help themselves out of that. So with that, inshallah, I'll conclude today's supposedly Arabic grammar review. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Can you cover one more thing, Ustad?
I sure can.
We had a number of people asking if they have to be 18 to sign up, because that's what website is saying.
That's recommended, but no, I've got these kids here. I don't know why it still says that. No, you don't have to be 18. That used to be the full-time program. But this is the new Dream program where kids and adults alike can do it. My recommendation is at least 10, but 10 if they're super, super studious, but a little bit older would be better. 11, 12 would be better for them, because it does get intellectually taxing. And if they're doing other schoolwork, then this might become like too much pressure. So these kids are actually doing a homeschooling program. They have kind of a lighter schedule, so they can manage this. But if your kids have a full load already in school, then they shouldn't be doing this. It's too much. I wouldn't do it to my kids, not unless they were like, on a much more relaxed schedule, because this is something they need to be able to enjoy and absorb and not feel pressured to do, inshallah. Is that it?
That is it.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.